Hey guys, Sean Terry here, and I want to share with you the missing presentation from Extreme Freedom. So it is Tuesday after the Extreme Freedom event this past weekend, and I want to thank you guys so much for attending. It was so great to see everybody and take pictures with everybody and shake everybody's hand and meet everybody. And I hope you absolutely loved the event. I love doing those events. I love meeting everybody and pouring everything we know into you so you can go out and become successful and achieve anything you want in this life. So anyways, we did not get to this presentation, the triangle effect, and I had a ton of people come up and ask me about the triangle effect. Where's the triangle effect? So what I decided to do is record for you the triangle effect so you can watch it at your own leisure. We're posting it up in the app. It'll be on the Dropbox and also be on flip2freedom.com as well. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into the triangle effect. It talks about the law of attraction, the spiritual, and the mental side, how all that comes together that can make a massive impact in your life. So, the game of life is the game of boomerangs. Our thoughts, deeds, and words return to us sooner or later without astounding accuracy. Florence Scovel Shinn. So, what is a triangle effect? Well, the triangle effect is our mental chronic thoughts and the law of attraction, and our chronic thoughts about basically going with the flow. What is our chronic thoughts? What's this consistent story that we tell ourselves on a daily basis of who we are and what we do and our life? Then we're going to talk about 3 spiritual laws for unlimited success, and we're going to talk about inspired action, how to open the floodgates, and how all this ties together, between your thoughts and spirituality and the mental thought and your law of attraction, how all stuff comes into your life. It is pretty cool. So, life is like a river. It can be agonizing struggle or an enjoyable, exhilarating ride. It all depends on the direction that you're going. So picture this, right? Picture a fast-moving river, a big old river that's flowing down, and it's going like crazy. And you have a raft, right? You and your friends or whatever, you're on this raft, and you're going to get in the water. Now, what happens is that we're taught that we have to get a good helmet, we have to get good oars, right? We have to get the best gear, and we get in the river, and life is a struggle. We're taught that we gotta go upstream, right? And we gotta paddle hard, and we gotta do whatever, we gotta put effort, and the harder we work, and the more energy we do, and we're sitting there, we're paddling as hard as we can, upstream as fast as we can, and we're stressing out, and we're sweating, we're putting tons of effort in. What if I told you this? What if I told you that everything you want, right? Everything we want, our goal is to go upstream. If we can get to the top of the stream, then we're gonna accomplish everything we want. It's gonna be the pinnacle, the success we've been looking for. But what if I told you this? What if I told you everything you want, that struggle, that energy, that effort, right? Everything you want upstream, it's not what you want. What if I told you everything you want is downstream? And see, what if instead of struggling and pushing hard and trying to get upstream, what if you just turn that raft around and then you start flowing, going with the flow, and everything comes easy to you? And guess what? And now you can go out and you can achieve everything. Because here's the deal. Everything you want is not upstream. Everything you want is downstream. But the problem is we're taught that we have to go upstream to achieve the almost impossible. So here's the deal. This is how the law of attraction works, and I can explain it the best way is this, and how the triangle effect works, is that, and I see this all the time, and thousands of people have been through the Flip to Freedom Academy. I've done 6 basically events, and there are 2 types of people. There's an investor, and they could be in the same market, and they could have the same mailing list. They could have the same mail piece, a postcard or yellow letter, sent to the same regular local number, but you have 2 people that are executing that specific action. And what they do is they send out their mail, Now, one person happens to get all the calls, right? They get the great leads, they get the good appointments, they go on the appointments and they get contracts and generate revenue. And everything was easy and it flowed. And then you have the other person that struggles. They get people that yell at them on the phone and they're mad at them. And then they go on an appointment and everybody wants retail. And then they get a contract, and then there's some sort of issue with it with some liens going on it, right? So what happens is there's two different types of people, same market, same postcard, same list, different results. What is the difference? That's the triangle effect. Now, think about this. If you have one person and they're thinking abundance thoughts, they're thinking there's more than enough, they're thinking, their story is everything always goes my way, everything lines up perfectly for me, they're in a state of gratitude and appreciation, and they're looking at everything that's going great instead of everything that's going bad. Guess what happens? With that type of person, guess what? Everything lines up for them perfectly. Then you have the other person that's thinking, oh my gosh, what if this doesn't work? And they're scared. What if I spend this money on marketing and I don't get anybody to call? What if I turn around and they're projecting all this fear out there, right? Worry is like praying for the things that you do not want. Worry is praying for the things you do not want. What happens is they will get the result that they expect. If they expect to have success, they'll get success. If they expect to have failure and they don't know and they're scared and they're fear, that's what's going to show up in their life. So if you have the same person with the same list, and people come out all the time and goes, I sent the list you told me, I sent the mail piece you told me, and I'm in a good market, why isn't it working for me? And then I start having a conversation with them and I find out their mind is in the wrong, they're pulling them in the wrong direction. So what we're going to talk about here in the triangle effect is primarily at the first, it starts with your chronic thoughts. So here's the deal. What is the story you're telling yourself or others on a daily basis? What is your chronic story? Are you saying that everything goes perfect, everything is great, you look at everything? Are you complaining about things, how everything sucks and how it doesn't work out and how you wish life was better and you're living in the future and you're projecting fear and worry? What is your chronic story? And think about that. What is that story? Well, I should have went, to school and I should have went this and I should have done that, I should have done this. Saying this never works for me, or I've tried and failed before, so what makes me think this will work now? Those are negative stories that attract, and we expect negative things into our life. Visualizing the worst case scenario, projecting that into the future is affecting our outcome. So if you think about it, what's fear? Fear is living in the present and taking negative thoughts and projecting them in the future. And going, what if this happens? What if that happens? Now you got worry and you got fear. What if someone calls me and it doesn't work? What if I spend marketing money, I don't get a deal? What if I sign a contract and I can't sell it? All these fear-based thoughts are projecting, and that is what you're setting up. That's your story, and that's what you're expecting in your life. Visualizing the worst case scenario, projecting future negative thoughts. Your thoughts create your feelings, and your feelings create your magnetic vibrational frequency, and that's how law of attraction. So it starts with your thoughts, and then it goes in your feelings. See, think about this. Think about you start thinking of what could go wrong. Everything that's bad. And you start focusing, because the only thing we can control in our life is our focus, right? And we start focusing on everything that could go wrong, everything that's bad, we almost get a bad feeling in our gut. It's funny, I used to go a long time ago with my wife, we'd go to Target, right? And we had limited amount of money at the time, and she'd be throwing stuff in the cart. She's just like, oh, we got this, and throw this in the cart, and throw this in the cart. And I remember my stomach was just turning, going, and I'd just be stressing out because she's throwing all this stuff in the cart. And I'm like, okay, how much was that? And oh, how much was that? And how much was this? And she's putting us like, I'm like, do we really need that? Do we have to have that? And what about that? We don't need this, right? And I'd sit and be stressing all out because he's throwing all this stuff in the cart. Guess what? It makes you feel bad, stressing out about it. And what happens is your thoughts creates your feelings, and your feelings what emit out, is like a vibrational frequency, and it tracks back the basically like thing. If it puts out negative feelings, you're going to get back negative in your life. So you are a living magnet. What you attract in your life is in harmony with your dominant thoughts. That's Brian Tracy. Now, law of attraction. Positive or negative magnetic thought vibration will attract positive or negative life experience. Now, when I saw that at first, I was like, wow, you think your thoughts, right, are so powerful, and we just kind of let our thoughts flow. We don't, it just, we wake up and it just, in our thoughts, you start to think one thought after another thought, after another thought, after another thought. Next thing you know, you're down this rabbit hole of this negative thought, and then you start feeling bad and you're going, holy cow. The idea is to understand our thinking, right? And then be able to recognize it and then stop. And then direct our focus on what we want. Now, let's talk about the becoming a money magnet, okay? You'll never attract money holding the feeling of lack. So if you feel that there's not enough, you feel that there's basically lack in this world. There's not enough in this world. You feel broke. You feel poor, right? If you are holding those feelings, then guess what? You can never attract money in your life. The secret to attracting money is feel wealthy before the money comes, right? You gotta almost trick yourself into feeling as if you have more than enough. And guess what? It's what you focus on. If you focus on everything you have versus everything you don't have, if you focus on everything going great versus everything that sucks, guess what? Now you're aligning yourself and you're opening up those doors for more to come in your life. Now, attracting money is 70% emotional and 30% actions. Your thoughts create your feelings create resistance or attraction, right? So here's a resistant feeling. Unhappiness is a resistant feeling. Depressed, right? And why do we get depressed? We get depressed because we look at our current life circumstance, and either it meets, right? Our current life experience meets what we expected. So think about this. Maybe you're 50 years old right now, right? You're 50 years old and you thought you should have a certain amount of money in the bank. You thought you should have a certain place in your career. You thought you should be a certain type of weight in a certain type of athletic, in shape, right? So if you look at that right there, and if you look at your life and you go, holy cow, well, I'm under that, right? I haven't achieved that, right? And it's not, or I matched that, or I've exceeded that. So if you look over here and you look at your current life circumstance and you go, holy cow, that is not where I expected to be. And there's a discord. So it's down here and you thought you should be up here. What happens is that creates disease. That creates depression. That creates, you don't feel happy because you think you should be here, but you're not. Right? But what happens is now if you turn around and your current life experience matches what you think you should be, then guess what? Now you're happy. Hey, I feel great, I'm good. Now it's gonna be different in every aspect. Maybe you're in excellent shape, you're in amazing shape, and then you look at your current life and you go, hey, you know what? That matches what I thought I should be at that age. But then you look maybe at your finances, you're going, that I should be further along. Guess what? It creates essentially depression. So there's two ways to do that. Either A, you have to raise that up. That's why I hope this education and extreme freedom that you guys went to give you the ability and the tricks and everything to basically increase that in your life. Or you have to change what you thought you should have in your life, right? Thought you should be. So now, unhappiness, depressed, bored, overwhelmed, anger, worry, fear, lack, not enough, concerned, anxiety, complaining, and monotony. Monotony. I was like, monotony. Yeah. These feelings held in chronic pattern will attract negative people, situation, and events in your life. Think about it. Have you ever met someone that complains all the time about everything? Have you ever met someone that is just always worrying about everything, right? Have you met someone they're just completely overwhelmed all the time, right? What happens, that attracts negative people, negative situation, and negative events in their life. Now, what's the opposite side? Let's say if you have a stick, this is the negative side and this is the positive. What's the opposite side of that stick? Well, winning the lottery. Think about this. Right? Imagine if you won the lottery right now, right? You won it. You won $10 million lottery right now. How would you feel? You'd feel amazing. You'd be like, oh my gosh, I won $10 million. Now, you haven't got the check yet. The check you're supposed to get next week. But you know you won. You got all the numbers, you won the lottery, but the check officially, by the time they clear everything and go through and they cut it and everything, it's not coming until next week. How do you feel? Do you feel like you're, eager? Are you excited? Are you joyous? Do you have a joyous anticipation? You have love and you're like, oh my God, this is incredible. I'm on my finances. And you start preparing for your fortune to come. You start preparing. You start doing things different. Wow, this is the trip I'm going to take, and this is the house I'm going to live in, this is the car I'm going to drive. I'm going to take care of my family. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And you're preparing for your good that is coming next week. What if the good is always there? It's always there. You just got to prepare for it. You got to prepare for it now, even though you don't know it's there. It's called faith. Right? You have to have faith that there's abundance, a faith that it's there. And guess what? And you prepare for it. The problem is most people prepare for lack. What if it doesn't work? What if it's scared? What if I can't do this? What if I can't do that? Prepare for the good that you want in your life, okay? These feelings held in chronic pattern will attract positive people, positive situation, and positive events. Here's Oprah Winfrey, one of the most successful women on the planet. And she lived in an orphanage. She was basically tossed around as a kid from orphanage to house. Had one of the worst childhoods that you could even imagine. What she says, if you look at what you have in your life, you'll always have more. If you look at what you don't have in your life, you'll never have enough. So let me ask you a question. What are you looking at? Are you looking at what you have, everything you have, and are you appreciative of everything you have and grateful for everything you have? Or are you looking at everything you don't have? Well, I should have that. I should have that by now. I should have done that by now. Spiritual connection, law number 1, okay? Trust and faith. You can trust in God, the universe, infinite intelligence. I choose God. But you have to have trust and faith at the same time. If you have trust and faith, then you won't feel worry, fear, concern, anxiety. Think about it. If you have 100% faith, 100% trust, then you can't have worry and trust at the exact same time. Faith-based decision versus fear-based decision. Here's the deal, is that we are all made up of the decisions that we make in our life. Decisions. So we have two choices. We can make a faith-based decision where you have faith, or you can have a fear-based decision. So you're paying, you have bills to pay, right? But you don't want to really pay them or whatever, and you're kind of afraid to pay them because you don't want your bank account to dwindle, so you're kind of scared and you're kind of preparing, hoping for this, whatever. That is fear-based. You're preparing to have more lack in your life. If you pay the bills fearlessly, well, guess what happened? More will come. Because think about it. Everything's always worked out for you, hasn't it? It's always worked out to this far right now. If you're watching this, everything always works out. So you get a faith-based decision or a fear-based decision. Fear-based decision. I remember I did my first event. I'd never done an event before personally in my life, and I had to go sign a hotel for like $30,000, right, to commit to the hotel. I didn't know if people were going to show up. I didn't know, anything about putting content together or putting an event on. I've never done it before. I had to have faith. And guess what? I did the first event, which led to the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and led to this last one this past weekend, right? So the bottom line is faith or fear-based decisions. I was talking to Kent. He has his event coming up in February. He signed $50,000 to have a guest speaker, Grant Cardone, speak at his event. 50 grand. Is that faith-based or fear-based? If he goes, oh, maybe I should make that decision. What if I can't get the people there? What if I can't cover it? What if I spend that money and I lose it? 50 grand to have one guy speak for an hour. 50 grand, right? Or I have faith, it's gonna happen, I know it's gonna happen, and expect it and prepare for it. So in the Bible, it talks about faith the size of a mustard seed. Now, have you ever seen a mustard seed? So a mustard seed, if you hold it in your hand, it looks like a little head of a pin. It's a small, little, tiny, it's the smallest little seed you can think of, right? If you ever seen a mustard seed? Now, why didn't God say, if you have faith the size of a mountain, because here's the deal. He used a small little tiny object like a mustard seed, because here, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, what don't you have? That's right, you don't have doubt. See, if you have just a little bit of faith, it's absent of doubt. And guess what? Doubt is the biggest killer of success in life. You doubt yourself, you doubt your abilities, you doubt who you are, you doubt God, you doubt the system, you're doubting this. Doubt destroys us. And God said, if you just have a little bit of faith, just a small amount, then you're not going to have any doubt whatsoever. And when you have zero doubt, you can move mountains. Spiritual connection number 2, you always reap what you sow. So here's the thing. Always choose to do the right thing. I have had many times where I am tested, my integrity, on what to do, the right thing or the wrong thing. I remember one time I had a seller. We signed a contract with a seller and we were set to close the following day. It was like a $25,000 or $30,000 spread. It's called up the seller and we're gonna close. We had all the docs, we got the property sold, we got the buyer, everything's lined up, we're good to go, boom, and we're set to close. We get a call from another investor and the investor says, hey, I just found out, but you guys have the same, I had this contract before and we're set to close. I think the seller's playing us. I said, whoa, okay. So I said, well, when did you get your contract? Well, he got our contract a week before we got our contract. So technically, he was in position on that property and we weren't. The seller essentially signed 2 contracts. Now, that's not legal for the seller to do. So I had 2 different options. I could just close on the thing, keep the $25,000, $30,000, tell that investor to go pound salt, right? Would that be the right thing to do? Probably not, right? You reap what you sow. So what I did was I said, okay, let's get the seller on the phone. So I got the seller on the phone. And guess what? We're on a 3-way. And I said, hey, Mr. Seller, you know what? And you signed a contract with 2 different people. And he completely is just like, I'm sorry. I just wanted to get it done and I didn't know what to do and whatever. And basically confirmed that he signed a contract with that buyer prior to us. So you know what I did? I canceled the escrow. I said, go for it. Good luck. I said, if you have any problems, you can't sell it for some reason, I'm here. I got a buyer that wants to go. I canceled my escrow. We lost out on the $25,000. And guess what? That's the right thing to do. Now, some people looking at this going, what, are you kidding me? I just closed the deal. Screw the guy. Guess what? Tenfold is going to come back to you. But guess what? Because I did the right thing, tenfold came my way, the opposite way. Always choose to do the right thing. It's not going to be easy. It's not easy at doing the right thing every time, but it's the right thing to do. Number 3, tithe 10% of every dollar that comes into your household. Now, here's how I learned this, and it wasn't a nice way. I grew up in a Christian family, went to a Christian church, and I learned tithing when I was a kid and stuff like that. So I kind of grew up with it, and a lot of people watching this right now have not grown up with it. And it's new to them. But what happens for me was what happened in early 2005, and actually 2004, I started building a property portfolio, built a property portfolio of about 120 properties, $36 million worth. And I sold it sold that property portfolio between early 2005 and late 2005 and made millions and millions of dollars. That was my smart move. There was the height of the market was crazy. I took that money, plowed it and reinvested it in the large tracts of land. So we bought 10 acres here and 100 acres here and 20 acres here, and we're all bringing them through the development process. And about 2008 hit, right? The market was insane in 2008. It crashed. You know, the stock market went down 700 points day after day. You know, Washington Mutual went out of business July of 2008. It was like a bloodbath. All the home builders were going out of the business. They had the largest hard money lender here in town. He got dressed up in his tuxedo and killed himself. His wife and kids found him laying in bed dead. You know, it was a bloodbath. People were dropping like flies. And I found myself in early 2008, right? I had all these land assets that literally went to zero. I sold my cash flow properties off. Those were done, and I plowed it into non-cash flow into land. And I remember in 2008, and I found myself in an illiquid situation. Illiquid means, you know what? No cash coming in, but I had cash going out on all these properties. So I found myself in an illiquid situation. So bad in 2008. I remember, and I think this was early 2009. It was Labor Day of 2009 because it was a Monday. And I remember, you know, I was off that day or just doing whatever. I wasn't waking up early. I wasn't focused. I wasn't focusing on everything I wanted. I was looking at everything I lost and everything that went wrong and how much money that I lost investing in these properties and how my life sucked and I should have done better. Why didn't I do this? And I was really beating myself up really bad. Tons of doubt and tons of stress and, you know, tons of fear because I didn't know what was going to happen with the market, even though it was one of the greatest times in history to become wealthy. I was focusing on everything that was wrong, everything that I lost, right? And what happened was I started getting behind on payments. And I had this guy on my car, came to my door that Monday morning, right? Was it Labor Day or whatever it was, knocked on my door, and he opened, I remember I was in bed, right? It was like 8 o'clock in the morning. I rolled out of bed and I was like, oh, you know, threw my hat on, still in my boxers, opened the door. I said, hello? And the guy looked at me and goes, I'm here for your car. I was like, what? What are you talking about? He goes, I'm here to repossess your car. Get your keys. And I'm like, I remember my heart instantly started beating out of my chest. I started sweating. Adrenaline started shooting through my body. I'm like, colleague, I said, hold on, let me get my clothes on. I closed the door and I'm sitting there shaking. My wife's going, what the heck is going on? I'm grabbing my keys. The guy has a tow truck out in the front yard. My neighbors are mowing their lawn and stuff like this. And I'm sitting out there with a tow truck. And this guy's here to repossess my car. So I went from all these properties, 120 properties, $36 million worth, sold them in the height, millions of dollars coming in, reinvested in land. I'm sitting there meeting with all these, you know, mayors and vice mayors and city councils to work on these properties and stuff like that. In the meantime, I'm freaking out, right? So, and I wasn't tithing. I wasn't waking up early. I wasn't focused. I wasn't focusing on everything I wanted. I got lost. And I remember I called my lender company for my car. They held me off, and thank God I was able to save my car. But that evening, right, my father-in-law gave me a book called The 4 Spiritual Laws of Success. And in that book, in the first chapter, it talks, there's about 70 pages on tithing. And I knew tithing because I grew up with tithing, right? And on tithing, and I got away from it. Because what happens is if you hold everything in, right? You hoard every dollar and you're scared to let it go. What happens is, guess what? You don't have enough. But amazing things, when you start opening your hands and you start giving, next thing you know, things start coming to you like crazy. It's amazing. So I went out and I remember I had $20 and I was driving down to the, I don't know where, I think I was driving to the Costco. And there was a family that was sitting outside. And it was this mom, this dad, and these 2 kids, and they're sitting on the side of Costco. And I remember I had $20 to my name right then. And I drove in, right? And I think I was driving to get gas or something, or whatever at Costco. And I drove in, and I saw this family, and I took this $20 out, and I gave it to them. And I remember thinking, holy cow, And I was so grateful that I had $20 to be able to give him. And I remember I just bawled and I was in tears because I was like, wow, I'm so lucky. So what happens was, I read that book and I made a commitment right then and there that I was going to tithe 10% of every dollar that comes into my household, no matter what. And I've done so ever since. Now, 10%, that's what it says in the Bible. In the willingness to give that which we seek, we keep the abundance of the universe circulating in our lives. Money is circulation, right? If you keep and hoard it, what happens is it stops circulating in your life. Proverbs 28:22 says, a stingy man is eager to get rich and is unaware that his poverty awaits him. So here's Malachi 3:10. Bring the whole tithe into my storehouse, so that there may be food in my house. And test me now in this, says the Lord of hosts, if I will not open for you the windows of heaven and pour out for you a blessings until it overflows. So the bottom line is Malachi is saying, bring the whole tithe into my 10%. And guess what? I am going to open the windows of heaven and pour blessing until it overflows in your life. Just try it. Test him. Try him. See if it works. So here's John D. Rockefeller, one of the most successful men in American history. He was worth $340 billion. Now, you're looking at what's his name? Bill Gates. I think he's worth like 40, 50 billion. He worth, 3, 4, 5, 7 times, 6 times that, $340 billion. And he attributes his wealth to tithing. So look at that. In 1855, tithe $9.50. 1856, $28 for the year. 1857, $72. 1863, 1858, $671. 1863, $5,480. That was a big jump from 1858 to 1863. 1878, $23,485 for the year. 1881 to increase to over $50,000. 1884, $119,000. 1887, tithe to increase to over $250,000 in 1887. In 1890, tithes over $1 million. Between 1855 and 1934, John D. Rockefeller gave roughly $531 million in tithes. Now, it worked for him, right? So, leap of faith, inspired action. People, events, and situations, opportunities will appear. Take a leap of faith and take action. Even if the action is unwarranted, it could lead to real opportunity. Go with your gut instinct. So here's the thing. How to pull all this together. Basically take your 2018 goals, right? Your 2018 goals. And in January, you can create what's called a January letter. So I got this from John Carlton, which is a legendary copywriter. And instead of chasing goals, he pulls goals toward him. And he does it with this January letter. So basically what the January letter is you start January of 2018, but you date the letter as if it's January 2019. So put yourself in the mindset that it's 12 months ahead of now, right? 12 months ahead, and you're actually documenting what happened the last 12 months. So what you do is you're sitting where January of 2018, you're writing a letter to yourself as if it was January 2019, you're projecting like it was 12 months ahead, and you're documenting what happened for the year. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This year was one of the best years of my life, and I did this, and I did that, and I did this, and I did that. Now, you want to be highly specific and descriptive by journaling everything that happened for the year. Read it when you first wake up and when you go to bed. And actually, if you want to go to a step further, I actually record it, me saying it, and I listen to it on loop when I go to bed. So the January letter is incredibly effective. I've had it to where I remember several years ago in my January letter, I wrote that I wanted to go to Napa in October. September came along. And in my January letter, hey, I'm so excited. I went to Napa and, I took my wife there and we had a blast and it was so much fun and everything was perfect. And so that's how I kind of wrote my January letter. Now, September came along and I didn't have any plans to go to Napa at all, and I was like, it's coming up in a couple weeks, and I don't really have anything planned, and we just got busy. I had an event going on, a bunch of stuff going on, and just kind of got out of the way, kind of got lost. So I was like, well, maybe that goal is not going to come to fruition. But I read it every morning, every night, and I remember, and I had it in my head, and it kind of pulls goals toward you. So interestingly enough, at the end of September, we had several friends that said, hey, we're going to Napa. We got a beautiful house on the vineyard. We're going up there. We got everything all set up. We got the tours set up. We got all the wineries set up. We got everything set up. And we need a fourth couple that can go. Are you guys interested? All you got to do is buy flights and pay for food, and we can split food and stuff like that. So we're like, okay. Within 2 weeks, we were flying to Napa and had the best trip ever. We didn't have to plan anything. Everything was all lined up perfectly. It was an amazing trip. Guess what? It was pulled toward us. There's a guy named Nazar out of North Carolina, and Charlotte, North Carolina, and I told him about and through our events and trainings and stuff like that. So he wrote his January letter, and one of his goals that he wanted pulled toward him was like, holy cow, I want to take my dad to the Super Bowl. So what he did was he wrote in the letter, he had no idea how to do it. At the time, couldn't even fathom affording to pay Super Bowl tickets, right? Especially for him and his dad. And he just didn't want any tickets. He wanted great seats. And he wanted to go out there for the weekend and have a blast doing it. So he wrote in his letter, he didn't really believe it. It was kind of a stretch for him, but he wrote it down, and boom, guess what? He posted on his Facebook, you know what? Here's me and my dad, and we went to the Super Bowl, and they absolutely had a blast, and everything just came to fruition perfectly. I hear story after story after story after story of people talking about how this January letter has changed their life. So, morning rituals. Wake up at least an hour early before anyone else, when it's quiet and when it's placid. Write and review your daily list of everything you're grateful for, you appreciate, and love. Read your January letter and feel the excitement and eagerness of success unfolding, and expect it. Visualize everything you want in your life and see as it already has happened. Plan your day, your action step, appointments, and things to do. And Tony Robbins has a breathing exercise, express gratitude, and pray. So that's his morning. It's kind of my morning ritual, but Tony Robbins. You want to have what he calls an hour of power, or 10 minutes to thrive. A morning ritual where you have time to basically focus on everything you want to happen in your life. I wake up every morning early. I make my daughter breakfast, take her to school, come back, and I have about a good hour to 45 minutes to where I can sit there and focus everything I want to happen in my life, and it pulls toward me. Now, 5 laws of mastering money. Morning rituals generate wealth, attracting feelings. So the feelings that we have, like appreciation and abundance and gratitude and expectancy and eagerness, all those are wealth attracting feelings. We just don't wait for those to come up and show up in our life. We engineer those feelings. We focus our thoughts on everything that makes us feel great and appreciative, and what can we attract in our life, and what we are grateful for, and what we love, and what we appreciate. So we can engineer those feelings on purpose, right? Read your January letter, and read your January letter every day and every night before you go to bed. Decisions, make faith-based decisions versus fear-based decisions. How you feel, become highly aware of how you feel. So as soon as you go down the path of complaining, of negativity, of looking at what's not working or circumstances in your life, immediately recognize it, pivot, and then focus on everything you want. Okay? If you focus on everything you love and appreciate and flood your magnetic vibration with abundant feelings, do the right thing, always do the right thing, tithe, give 10% of every dollar you have to charity. Success is the ability to fulfill your desires with effortless ease. And that's Deepak Chopra. So I want to leave you with this. The triangle effect has changed my life, and I know it's changed other people. Some of you might think this is all hocus pocus and this, that, and the other. But you know what? If you look at some of the most successful people in the world, they wake up and they have morning rituals. They focus on everything they love and they're grateful for. They focus on everything they appreciate, and they understand the process of attracting more in your life. Guess what? It's impossible to go out and achieve abundant success when you're negative, you're complaining, you have doubt and fear and anxiety and anguish and overwhelm. You can do all the right things. You can do everything right. You can send the letter to the list in the market and talk to sellers, and you can do everything technically right. But if you have those thoughts, you are not going to achieve success. It's not going to happen. It's 80% mental, 20% mechanics. People want the mechanics, but it's the mental that makes the whole difference. And this is one of the biggest problems. If you talk to, Tim Ferriss wrote a book called Tools of Titans. It's like this thick. It's huge. And in that book, he talks about, ask every single successful person in that book, and 99% of them wake up, have a morning ritual where they focus on everything they want to happen in their life. So think about it, right? I challenge you. Challenge you to follow these morning rituals, make the faith-based decisions, and focus on how you feel. Just do it for 90 days. Try it, right? If you look at your life right now and everything sucks and everything doesn't work, just try this. Try it for 90 days. Tithe. Where do you tithe? If you don't go to church, give to a charity of your choice. Give to kids that need it for some reason. We got Thanksgiving coming up? Give it to a family that maybe you buy some groceries or something for the family so they can have a great Thanksgiving. People are less fortunate. And focus on how you feel. So that's it for the triangle effect. I wish I would have been able to deliver it at Extreme Freedom, but I definitely want this. It's incredibly important to your success, and it's the missing piece. It's the missing key, right? You can have all the technical side and everything, what to do and how to sew and read personalities and handshakes and all that stuff, but if you don't have this, the pieces won't come together. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please share it with everybody you know, friends, family, relatives, and I will see you on the next event. Thank you, and God bless.